Netflix is unquestionably the most dominant force when it comes to streaming on television. In fact, they're several times larger than their next closest competitor when you look at total watch time consumed around the globe. And of course, that next closest competitor is the Walt Disney Company and Disney Plus. And it just goes to show you how one spends its money versus the other and the results that it gets. But recently, Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos did something quite stunning. He threw down a gauntlet to Disney and all the competitors out there in the streaming space. I wonder if any of them will actually put up. Renegade Online. This is what's going to put the internet hotspot over the top. Nope, it worked. Okay. So Ted Sarandos calls on his competitors to release Netflix viewership or their own viewership numbers. So now, for everybody's edification, Netflix started doing this about a year ago. So January of this year, I believe, or no, wait, flipped it around. Last year, 2023. The reports, I think, are always delayed by about 6 months. So they put out the full 2023 report. Like basically everything that was on Netflix was gauged. You got the entire full global watch minutes of everything. And so they put out a report from January to June of 23. And then in May, late May of this year, 2024, they put out July to December 31st of 2023. And we talked a little bit about it a few months ago. But when we look at what he's doing here, he's like, hey, we're showing you ours. Let's see y'all's. We all know right now that the Walt Disney Company is not going to be doing this anytime soon because it would probably be mortifying. It would be humiliating to compare what they're doing on Disney Plus to Netflix. And especially when you consider Netflix is big. I'll put it this way. I started running the math on this. And I'm actually, let's see if I still have this. I think as I mentioned this earlier, I don't know if it closed when my internet went bye-bye. There it is. Of course, it flies up there. Let me fix that real quick. So remember when we got the Acolyte and when Disney comes out and says, what was it, 4.8 million views?
I think so.
Okay. 4.8 million views, and that was on all of Disney Plus. That was globally, right? That was in the first 6 days, I think. And it seemed to be backed up by what Luminant and some other people said. 4.8 million. That was across the whole of Disney Plus. Okay? This is so bad. Murder Mystery 2. Adam Sandler.
The Adam Sandler, yeah.
Murder Mystery 2. I've got to go back and I've got to find it because I've got to hang on. It's on this list. I want to make sure January to June. I think it was on. Basically, when you looked at the global view, if you reversed engineered the hours watched to the viewership. So basically, they did viewership in the same fashion. They said total available runtime, total hours watched, right? Just like Disney does it. Same exact way. Murder Mystery 2 was like 50 million people watched it. That's how insane it was.
Yeah, for just a murder mystery comedy. Yeah.
A comedy. A stupid Adam Sandler movie. Now, remember, people ask, like, oh, my God, I cannot believe they actually paid Adam Sandler. They gave Adam Sandler $1 billion contract at Netflix for, I forget how many, about 10 movies or whatever the hell it was. You know, he's making these things for next to nothing. And what Netflix is getting out of this is just obscene. I'm going to see, I think it was on this one. I'm trying to find it. I had it highlighted on my other one, which I can't pull up right now because I'm using it for the hotspot. Let me just pull this up so y'all can see it. It really doesn't matter. Let's just look at this. These are just random Netflix movies. Heart of Stone. What is that? I have no idea.
That was that. I didn't see it. That was that Gal Gadot movie.
Ah, okay. Here's Extraction 2.
I mean, this is all the movies. This is everything. Look at how long this list is. Okay? Like Extraction 2, 112 million hours viewed. That's a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
It's 60 million views for Extraction 2 between July and December of 2023. The Acolyte probably doesn't have 10, like, per episode average.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's bad.
It's bad. It's bad.
It's really bad.
Murder Mystery is even worse. I mean, that's the kind of thing, and that's what I was trying to go back down and find. That might have been on the one that was earlier in the year, the one that was January. What they changed, and this was cool, the January one was everything lumped on one spreadsheet. When they came out with the one for the second half of the year, they broke it up for television series and movies. So you could find things a little bit easier. But you'll get the point. This is what we're looking at. I mean, Paw Patrol the movie, which is what they got from, who made that? Universal or Sony? The Boss Baby. That was another one that was not a Netflix movie. Netflix just rented. They rented Boss Baby from Universal or Sony, whoever made it. I can't remember. 100 million hours viewed globally is about an hour and a half movie. I do the math. I mean, we're still talking about like 60, 75 million views. It's ridiculous. The Disney, Star Wars, and Marvel projects and products are not coming in anywhere close to what Netflix is bringing down. Now, granted, you know, when you see it week over week, I mean, you've got to average things cumulatively. This, of course, is over many months. But the one thing that we've learned is that the rewatchability of these shows, like The Acolyte and probably Agatha all along, it's not much. It's nothing. It's nothing. And this is where, look, the Super Mario Brothers movie, which Netflix didn't even have first. It was on Peacock because it was a Universal flick for 4 months. They got it second. They got the middle 10 months of it. Super Mario Brothers movie. And look, not available globally. Boss Baby was not available globally because those studios have international distribution deals with somebody else besides Netflix. So when you consider that, Netflix had it here in the U.S., and look at the numbers it dragged in. That was a movie that was in theaters that people had watched online already. It just goes to show you the weakness, the total weakness of Star Wars, Marvel, Disney Plus, especially when you consider what they spent. Those things, like if you look at TV shows, and remember these Netflix TV shows, we're talking about Netflix TV shows that are like, what, an hour long a pop? That's the issue. Let me fix the zoom on this one. One Piece, season 1, release date, basically September 1st. So they only had 3 months. And this show picked up a lot of steam in the weeks after. And there was a ton of rewatch. 542 million hours viewed. I mean, remember, kids, that minutes is what they quote on Luminate. Minutes is what they quote on Nielsen. These are hours. Hours. So you're talking about, I mean, with One Piece season 1, this assumes that basically 70 to 75 million people around the world watched that entire show, every minute of it, start to finish, in that 3 months. Which it was probably more people that, didn't watch every single minute. But you get the idea. Marvel and Star Wars ain't coming anywhere close to this stuff, kids. Not even close. Not even close. Because again, even if Disney was trying to say that they were quoting North American numbers, okay, fine, double that. But they're not. They've said globally. When they talked about Ahsoka, right? And then they talked about, and even The Acolyte was, I think after the first full week, didn't they come back? Let's see, Ahsoka was what, 11? No, Ahsoka was 14 million, right?
Yes,
I think Disney
believe
said
so.
Ahsoka, 14 million views for the first episode of Ahsoka. And then They said with Acolyte, I think after the first week, it was, what was it? It was 4 million, I think, the first day. And then after the first week, it had gone to 11 million, maybe 11 million globally. That was pretty much the peak. And when you looked at the Illuminate and the Nielsen charts, that was peak for it. It did not run up to 75, 80 million views since then, kids. I promise you, it just died. You're talking about 75, 80 million for One Piece. You're talking about these shows. And One Piece is another show that cost about 200 to 250 million, reportedly. Same as The Acolyte, around 200 million. And it's literally pulling in 8, 9 times at least the viewership, maybe more, because this probably One Piece pulled in another couple 100 million hours of rewatch after the first of the year. So this is where the advertisers are going, kids. And 45% of all the new Netflix accounts that have been signed up in the past 6 months, from what we understand, from what Netflix has said, are for ad-based tier. So people are going to advertising, you know.
Oh man, I hate ads.
Yeah, well, that's what they're doing. So anyway, so I wanted to mention that. So, you know, Netflix, Ted Sarandos has thrown the gauntlet down. He's like, look, we're doing it this way. The creatives, and I want to read it one specific quote. So they're still thinking, even with 280 million global viewers, they still have room to grow. They don't care about subscribers anymore because Netflix, in case you didn't know, they're going to stop reporting subscribers on the quarterly earnings calls. I think they've reached a point of saturation and maturity. And they did indicate when we hit milestones, we'll probably announce that. So like if they cross 300 million subscribers, they'll announce that. But the subscribers aren't important anymore. What matters is the money. And they're turning a 25% profit margin at Netflix, which is enormous. No other streamers remotely close. Most other streamers are losing money hand over fist. Like we said earlier, people go to Netflix to see what's on. Nobody goes to Disney Plus to see what's on.
Yes.
And if you look here, I'll find this quote real quick. Ted Sarandos says that this whole thing about challenging people to release the data, and this is why Netflix did it over the last year, this is an answer to the folks who were saying, hey, I don't really get to see how my stuff does, meaning showrunners, filmmakers, and people that put their stuff on Netflix. They really never get to see how their stuff is performing in real numbers. So this is why Netflix is doing it, to take some of the mystery out of it so we can put, you know, some data to these things. Sarando says, I agree that was unfair. So the idea is that the number is out there so that the talent can see it, so that the agents can see it, and so that the press can see it and know what's a hit and what's a miss. And I love this. He added, I don't think we can be any more transparent. And one of his last quotes in here, and he talks about, here we go, the 280 million households around the world. Engagement is their core metric. How many people watch stuff? How long they sit on Netflix? Do they go watch something else? I love the last line here. Ted Sarandos. Now, this is a guy who knows how to drive excellence by merit. My goal is that all of these filmmakers, and I'm adding the words filmmakers and television producers here, that they get rich and famous. We're trying to provide them the opportunity for that to happen by showing them this data, by making this very public. So that way, if they do their job really, really well, they will get rich and famous. This is the craziest concept I've ever heard of in my life. Oh, wait. No, it's not.
It's a good business.
It's a pretty good business model. Look, we're going to put it in it. It's so smart because it's like, look, why don't you pay us more? Why can't we do this kind of show? Why can't we get a budget for this much for this kind of show? He's like, well, we're going to put all the data out here. We're going to show you why. Because this kind of show does not deserve $200 million. This kind of show deserves 25 to 50 million. Because here's the data right here. This is who's going to watch your stuff. Is it a hit or a miss? If it's a hit, great. We'll do another one and you get more money. I really like this. He's making it transparent. Does anybody out there think Disney is going to do this?
No, and you know what? It actually helps because of all the drama that went on with Star Wars Theory and Star Wars Explained. I saw a video of Star Wars Explained, and they were fussing that Disney gave in to the toxicity and the toxic fans, and that's why they canceled The Acolyte. It's like, no, they canceled The Acolyte because no one watched it. Like
Nobody
things
cared.
like that, things like that would just put an end to that so fast. Like it cost this much, it made this much, end of story.
That's it. That was the whole premise behind this. But I think I love this. I think it's brilliant. And I'm not trying to sit here and rah-rah and tell you that everything that Netflix is making is awesome.
Yeah.
Or that they're not, they don't have a history of like, okay, maybe we shouldn't have done Cuties, you think? Or licensed it from whoever they got. I don't remember. I don't know if that was a Netflix commissioned one or if they just bought it and licensed. I can't remember the whole story because that was like, I just try to put that out of my head because that was so freakishly creepy. But you look at the bulk of the stuff that Netflix does, and here's the deal. They put out the most crowd-pleasing stuff by the numbers, whether we like it or not. They put out the most crowd-pleasing stuff in streaming, and it ain't even close. And they talk about basically how Netflix and YouTube are sharing that top spot. He says in here, right now, YouTube and I occupy the top 20% of what everybody's watching online. He said, but YouTube obviously is a very different model because YouTube is us. It's you and me, Michelle. It's content creators. We're unprofessional. We're not producing 10, 15, 20, 30, $100 million productions. He said their model, they're not. YouTube obviously has more consumption online than Netflix, but not by a whole lot. Netflix is catching up. They're looking to grow to that other 80% that they don't have yet in terms of time spent watching stuff. They want more people watching stuff on Netflix. And the only way they can do that is to be efficient with their dollars, make quality content for the right price that people will watch and stay there. I truly don't know how Disney is going to ever compete with this, with Disney Plus.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.